to access that. And that's the magic. That's where true sovereignty lies. It's about really walking in your way, your way.
Welcome to the Riley June Show. I am your host, Riley June, intuition master coach and spiritual activator. This podcast is here to support you on your growth and ascension journey, for those new to learning about their energy, and for light leaders to set a standard in their work and practices within the industry. Running a multi-six-figure business as a light leader comes with great responsibility. And as I expand my work into the corners of the globe to help others reconnect with who they truly are, just know your time spent here with me is held sacredly. And for light leaders, it's time to show up. We have a massive mission to raise the awareness of human consciousness in our globe. So let's get to work. Hello, beautiful souls. I have a very special guest today. She is going to be coming in here with me, and we're going to be jamming on all things the science of how we move and operate and process energy and intuition, the power and potency of true self-mastery, and how following the intuitive nudges is really going to take you to the height of heights in the best of ways in your life, in all areas and aspects of your life, every single time, and everything that you're doing. So without further ado, I am going to turn this over to the interview, and I cannot wait for you to not only tune into this and hear this. Remember, you're going to want to take notes. This is going to be a part of this training that you go through with us this year through this podcast journey. But aside from that, enjoy. And I highly encourage you to screenshot and share and take me and Mikaela. Let us know what you took away from this episode. Oftentimes we do these podcasts and we love to hear who's really being touched by this work. So do us a favor, reach out, tag us, let us know what you're taking away from this, or at least show us your notes. All right, I love you. Let's go. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to another session. I have one of the most incredible guests here with you, or with all of us today, and I'm so excited to introduce her and her work and her world to you. We're going to be talking about all things self-mastery and the beauty in just diving into the personal and spiritual and self-development journey, and truly how it does transform your life. Not so much in a sense, well, obviously in a sense of all the manifestations that come with it, but more importantly, the level of confidence and courage ultimately that you have walking through your everyday practice. So Mikaela, thank you so much for being here today with us.
I am so honored. Thank you so much for inviting me into your world. I'm so excited to drop in with you.
Beautiful. So Mikaela McNat is here with us today, you guys. And seriously, this is going to be a conversation where you're going to want to get your note paper and pen out, because I already know that there's going to be a lot of beautiful tips and tools and tricks and stories that come through. So if you don't already have it, pause this, grab it, and then press play and just plug in. So Mikaela, I would love for you to just start off by introducing you. Who are you? What do you do in this world? What magic do you bring to humanity at this time?
I love the way you phrase that. My name is Mikaela. I am a light leader, as I know all of us here are. I think our purpose, our calling is continually evolving and expanding. And at least in this season of my life, I shine my light in a few different ways. I support women in their business expansion journeys. And my latest project, the container that I'm most excited to support women in, is as an NLP trainer. So we've got our neurolinguistic programming certification. And in this certification, we support our clients and students with hypnosis, Reiki, really integrating the subconscious and the energetics of one's healing and expansion journey. So we support a lot of existing coaches, but also women who are just looking to go deeper in their own walk and really embody that frequency of wholeness, of love, of peace before they even think about helping other people. They just are like in that space of, I'm going to give this to me right now, which is so beautiful too. So we do this work all over the US right now, looking to expand in the new year, which I know this will be dropping in the new year, to more international destinations. But that is what I do right now. And the way that I really connect to it intuitively is I feel that my role right now is to hold a mirror up to our students and our clients to show them how magnificent they already are, how powerful they already are, how magical they already are, right? It's not about like pulling something new in or finding something outside of themselves. Our brilliance is already here, and it's just about connecting back to it. So I do that in many different ways, but that's the nutshell of what I'm up to nowadays.
Oh, that's so good for so many reasons. And there's so many questions that are just pouring out from that I just can't wait to dive in with you. One of them being that you have such a beautiful focus on people mastering themselves. And in terms of spirituality, right, there's a lot of intuition and psychic and mediumship and these more kind of esoteric ways of working with people or channeling through or bringing through information. And what I love so much about what you do is that you not only bridge the gap between that in your own trust, faith, and belief and practice, but also in the strategical and the scientific. And I find that, and one of the reasons why I switched into coaching is because I found that there was this dependency on people needed me to tell them what they already could access for themselves. And I didn't like that. And I find that in our current culture that we have, there's a lot of room, arguably there always has, but more so now than ever, because people are like, what's going on? What is this? And so they're questioning, they're finding, they're seeking, they're searching. And so with the spiritual side of it, that there's this emphasis on, follow me, listen to me, I will tell you the way. And in what you do, and very much what I do, is no, let me show you your way. Let me show you your access. So I'd really love to hear from you how NLP, because it is more of that science-based logistical processing, how has that really supported you in your own life, having now learned that?
Yeah, I love this conversation because it's really about taking our power back. And we've all heard it before. Success leaves clues, mentorship, coaching, books, podcasts. Like there's so much magic in that, right? To follow those in which you are inspired by. So by no means will I say like, tune it out, but more so filter, right? Filter the wisdom from me. I start every workshop, every conversation with a client with take the pieces that land because I'm not God. I'm not your source within. I'm not your intuition. I might share things that do really land. And it's almost like my highest self and your highest self came through and like synced up. And we're like, yes. Okay, same. But it's not about me sprinkling some magic on my students or my clients. It's really about, like you said, just holding that space, holding that mirror up for them to access that. And that's the magic. That's where true sovereignty lies. It's about really walking in your way. So NLP for me has been a really beautiful kind of field that's given me some boundaries to work with in the physical, in the three-dimensional. So NLP stands for neuro-linguistic programming. And I love to explain it as the field of modeling success. We have a phrase in the world of NLP, anything you can do, I can model and do also. So we get to look at individuals, bringing in that success leaves clues, right? We get to look at individuals that have mastered certain things in the physical, whether it be business growth, spiritual growth, personal development, relationship, health. We get to look at individuals that have excelled in some area of life, and we get to look at what is happening on the inside of them and what are they doing on the outside as well. So really taking a look at both belief and physical action and extracting that information. And in NLP, we call it modeling that information and then installing it within ourselves. But what's beautiful about the installing it within ourselves, and I love that we're talking about it through this lens because it's kind of coming through in a new way that I've never really spoken on it. When we install it within ourselves, we're not becoming a carbon copy of that person because we have our internal filters, our internal beliefs, our upbringing, our story, our magic, our own energetic blueprint that we get to install it through, and we get to really integrate it with who we already are. So yes, we're taking the success, we're looking at the empowering beliefs that would really support us too, but we get to integrate it with the magic that's already in our DNA. So we get to be our own unique, authentic expression of that success, which I really love. So that's the best way that I love to explain NLP. And it's a field of many modalities, structures to success, healing exercises, right? Hypnosis falls into that world, coaching falls under that category. So lots of different things we can do, in the physical I'm doing little air quotes, but it really is a way of life. It's really a way of walking, it's a way of speaking, it's a way of living when you really understand how to model success, but brain, linguistic language, using the language of our mind to program our future for success, way of life. It's so funny. Right before this interview, I was in my kitchen. I'm visiting family this week, and I was talking to my sister about some stuff I've got going on this afternoon, and I noticed my language went a little like funky. I was saying words that didn't feel empowered, didn't feel like in my essence. And I changed it right away. And I said, no, 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 I'm in the process of expanding and I'm in the process of growing. And she laughed. And I was like, what are you laughing at, Kent? And she goes, you're so funny. You just sit there and like coach yourself through it. Like you just sit there and tweak the language to make it feel better. And I'm like, oh, I guess I did just do that because it's just a way of existing. Right. So that comes through time and integration and embodiment. But that's what NLP is to me right now.
Yeah. I feel like we could just like, that's good. I hope, like I said, you guys have your note paper and pen ready, because literally we're going to break this down in so many different facets that are digestible for you, because everything that you said, I'm like, you're speaking my language. When I started on the journey to connect to mediumship, which I thought was like so radical that you had to be the child who saw the spirits in the closet to be able to do it, I would remind myself that if one person can do it, anyone can. It just takes time, attention, and intention. And so when you speak to the model of NLP, it's like that is what unknowingly was my pursuance of, where do I go with this? What do I do with this? How much farther can I go with this? And we live in such a beautiful paradigm right now where both worlds need to exist. It on a self level, the mastery to know how to get yourself out of mental drama, physical drama, emotional drama, trauma. And it's so vitally important, because no matter what you believe or where you stand about anything, whether it's money, whether it's stuff in the world, whether it's whatever, if you don't have these tools, you create the repetitive cycles that are equally as uncomfortable as you wanting to escape and run from them. And it's not about needing to know everything tonight, tomorrow morning, in the next week. It's just finding what resonates with you in the pursuance of doing better. And I feel like that's something that gets really lost in this world right now. We're trying to create all these safe corners and containers for people where it's like, don't be triggered. No, be safe. You don't need to hustle. You don't need to sacrifice. And it's like, those are some of the best masculine qualities that is how people get to success points in their life. And success doesn't necessarily need to mean the $1 million mansion in the suburbs. It could be the freedom in the woods, because you chose and was determined to find how to live a life, off the land. Right. And so, the pursuance of success does actually require sacrifice. You are going to sacrifice time. You are going to spend money and investment. It might not always pan out for you, but that's okay. It's a mirror. You get to learn, right? And sometimes you do have to hustle. You do get to work harder. I feel like where it can get jumbled is that there are better ways to create better terminology, like what you did, self-coach yourself through why you're devoted to the sacrifice and the hustle. But I also feel like we're so quick to just demonize everything. Oh, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Oh, you're hustling too hard. You're spending too much time here. And even in, your example of how you're expressing to your sister, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And you're like, no, wait, there's a better way to make that feel exactly where I'm going. And it's like in the hustle, you can change the language to feel into the devotion of where you're going. And it's like, we we live in such a fascinating world right now where no matter where you're at, how you're finding this episode, where you're coming in on your personal journey, whether you've been in it for years or you're just getting started, there's just so much value in this ability to coach yourself ultimately, to be your best advocate, to understand how to move through the levels and the layers of the energy and the mindset mentality, because you're your greatest asset, period, at the end of the day.
Period.
And that's like, we really can't say that enough, I feel like.
I agree so fiercely. There was something that came through. If it's important, it'll come back through again. Well, it'll come back online if it's meant to be shared. I'm like, shoop, right out. Yeah. It'll come back.
That's okay. So I have another question for you to just go even deeper in that. So in terms of bringing NLP into your practice with your clients, no, we're going to come back to this one. What was the moment for you that really showed you that in utilizing this practice, that this is what you wanted to do? What was that moment for you, or that feeling or experience where you're like, online, this is happening, I'm figuring this out, I'm devoted to this direction?
Yeah. So I got into the personal development world through my fitness journey. I was a fitness coach for many years. And when you're changing your body, it's kind of like they go hand in hand. That's really where I was introduced when we talk about the masculine components. That's what it was, like the beauty in holding both that feminine flow, but also the ability to hold the masculine. And as we expand in wealth and abundance and prosperity, we also expand in our ability to hold the darker stuff, right? And the heavier stuff and the human stuff. So anyways, I got my introduction into the world through a lot of the masculine, the dedication. I think of Brendan Burchard, his like high performance habits book, Tim Ferriss with the 4-Hour Work Week, like all of these things came into my awareness. And I was like, whoa, this is interesting. This is pretty cool. Long story short, as I started my business and as I started to coach people in this online world as a life coach, I really realized that no matter how much I did at that point in time, like probably 6 months in of my entrepreneurial journey, while I was doing the right stuff that every Gary Vee person was telling me to do, something was off, because I felt like shit. I felt, sorry if I can't curse. I felt like all good. I felt bad. Okay. I felt bad. I felt it was hard, and it wasn't like that hard that like you hold. It was like, something's off here. Something doesn't feel true. So things really started to click for me when I was introduced to the laws of the universe. That's really kind of how I got my introduction into the world of NLP. But I really started to understand the way in which frequency worked and the way in which what was happening inside of me directly impacted outside of me. I mean, this started so small with like, let me manifest a free cup of coffee this week. Yeah. And let me just like see if this whole thing works, right? Yeah. Little tiny things that started to work. I was like, this is weird. This can't be a coincidence. And then it got, like bigger and bigger and bigger. And when I started to feel better as I was taking action, as I started to feel good as I was taking the actions in my business, as I started to feel confident as I would invite people in to work with me, as I started to feel congruent with receiving money and feeling safe to receive abundance and feeling like, yeah, I can hold this, and yeah, this can get better and better and better, and I'm safe to hold that. That's when something shifted. I didn't have to change much on the outside. I didn't have to change. When I say outside, like I didn't like try a new business or like try a new career or like try a new strategy. I just started to, I know it's so basic and some might roll your eyes, but I started to really love myself and fall wildly in love with my present moment while desiring more. Right. It's like a woman, alpha femme. She's a leader in the space. She says 1 foot. Yes. So good. I heard her say this recently, 1 foot in gratitude and 1 foot in desire, that it was really that right there for me. and something shifted and things started to feel really good, and things also started to manifest. And we're okay to want new things to manifest. Like I wanted more money and I wanted more freedom in my days and I wanted personal sovereignty. I didn't like having a job at the time. Like my truth in that season was like, no, this doesn't feel good for me. The job, the structure, the corporate, like didn't feel good. And I gave myself that permission to not want that anymore. So it was really that this early days of like manifesting the cup of coffee and manifesting like just really lovely conversations with people and
Yeah.
connecting with individuals like randomly in coffee shops and at the grocery store that just gave me life, where I was like, I'm changing something inside of me and it's directly affecting the outside of me. Like something's up here, right? And then that really did open, followed one breadcrumb after another into where I am today. And I continue to, right? Like
Mhm.
it's a forever journey.
I wanted to take a moment to introduce to you my favorite membership experience of all time. If you haven't already heard or been a part of the Expander membership community, this is a place where anyone on the beginning stages of their journey to finding who you are can come to learn about your energy, intuition, personal growth habits, and self-healing, with others finding themselves too. Our weekly meditations will align you with new habits, guest experts to bring you deeper into your self journey, and monthly coaching and readings with me to guide you into alignment and expansion. Come and join us and swap your Netflix habit with a community healing into self-mastery today. I can't wait to see you inside.
I'm always fine tuning, and little nuggets and seeds planted continue to come through when we talk about self mastery here. I think it's really a lifelong journey, but that's where it started.
All of it, love all of it, because it's so true. And it's so fascinating because when I started getting into deciding that, similar, I actually do want to have money. I want to make more money. I want to attract more money. I don't know how this works, but I want it. And I don't want to
Mhm.
feel shame for it. And then you go into, okay, well, where does that shame exist? And where did it come from? And how did it get there? And what am I believing? And you go through all the sequences. It's like, I started with, before even offering any paid services, I started just studying high level performers, speakers, teachers, athletes, celebrities, all of them. And it's congruently the same thing every single time. They desired more. They went on a journey of self discovery. They found faith, trust, belief, quantum energy, consciousness, expansion, intuition, ultimately themselves. And it
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
continued to grow from there. If there's any straight line painted for anyone, that's the simplest and most complex way to know that the only linear journey that exists, though it is multidimensional, is literally the journey of self-discovery. Like if you
Mhm.
take away all the titles of who you are and why you exist and the people you take care of and all the things and the jobs and the money and the bank accounts, and you just ask yourself, like, who am I? Your journey is endless. The thought
Yeah.
process, the discovery, the capability, the potential, the potency, the opportunities, it is truly endless. And in that pursuance of self, and it's not a selfish thing, it's not a narcissistic thing, because in relation to that, you find a higher power. I say God, I connect with God, it's my source, right? And you can say, well, my source is source. Okay, well, what is source? My source is the universe. Okay, well, who created the universe? And so it's not that I'm like, hey, you need to follow this religious belief, but it's like when you pursue more and a
Mhm.
depth within you, you want to know what's next naturally.
Mhm.
And I'm always open to what's bigger than God. It's the biggest one that I've found so far. And so I'm going to go, keep going with that. I'm going to explore, see what comes
Yeah.
through. Right. But like you said, we have this ability to then hold space for the darkness, right? We have
Mhm.
space, we have the ability to hold space for the, emotional abuse or neglect or whatever it was that transpired in your past or may come in the future. You have this ability to hold space for, regardless of the darkness that's happening in the world. And okay, well, that doesn't need to be my singular focus. there's way more that I can do around that and about that, and,
Mm-hmm.
within that. And it's this journey. It's this journey of self-discovery. And it's like every single person I talk to, every time they talk about where they were and how they got there and where they are and where they're going, it is the journey of self-discovery through and through every time. It's like one of the biggest questions I used to
Mm-hmm.
always get asked as a psychic is, what's my purpose in life? What am I here to do? I'm like,
Ooh,
well,
yeah.
let's help you uncover that, because I'm going to save a lot of people a lot of money right now, and I say this often, is if you're going to pay somebody to tell you what your purpose in life is, save your dollars, because the only person who can figure that out is you. And it's through
Yeah,
that self-development journey, it's through that self-mastery, the discovery. And
absolutely.
it's I'd love to know from you, so going back to how you're witnessing and you're taking, note of how your environment is now being influenced around you because of the energy you're carrying within you. What has that experience been like in terms of relationships in your life?
Yeah. Um, to this conversation of the pursuit of self, the pursuit of purpose. When I talk about this energy that I'm carrying, I love how you phrase it, like this linear journey. That's like the only thing that we do.
Yes.
That is the only thing that I have continually done, is what feels good for me. Where am I being called to? What is lighting me up? I don't think there's, and maybe this will change one day, but in this current iteration of Mikaela, like my purpose is to follow the curiosity, follow the nudge, follow the joy, follow what is like feeling so good in my body. And as I do that, and as we all do that, that's where we find alignment. That's where we find peace. That's where we find this ability to be so wildly in love with this moment, but also fully in faith that the next moments will be
Yeah.
so good, and that our manifestations will be, because we're in the flow, because we're in the vortex, because we're so, as Abraham Hicks says, tuned in, tapped in, turned on, right?
Yeah.
So as I've done that, it has been a direct reflection within my partnership with my boyfriend. We've been together, have we done 10 years? I don't know. Maybe this year's 10. Maybe no, I think we just did 10 years. I should know this. Yes, it's 2021. Oh my God. I love him. This is important to me. It's 10. We just celebrated 10 years. And it's been so beautiful to watch how, as I go deeper within myself, I can now hold a deeper appreciation and understanding for him as he goes into his self. And as we learn, we say often NLP, perception is projection. So if I have a whole bunch of unhealed stuff within me, unconsciously, I'm going to project that onto him. And I'm going to say, you're triggering me. You're mean to me. You're not giving me what I need, instead of, am I giving me what I need? Am I giving myself the love that I desire? Am I giving myself the safety that I desire? So when I can really hold myself in that journey, I no longer need to seek it from him or whoever, money or food or Netflix or drugs or whatever, right? You no longer have to seek it from others, because you get to give it to yourself from within, which, how liberating. Do I love him and want to spend my life with him? Absolutely. Does he bring me so much joy? Absolutely. But we don't need each other.
Yeah.
So that's big. And I didn't always operate from that space. So in addition to that, right, especially when we're talking partnership, I know I work with a lot of women. They sign up for these journeys, and the partner doesn't come along, right? The partner is like not on the same wavelength, and they don't want in, and they're, happy with just keeping the norm. And what I say to that is, we can't wake people up. And what very often happens is, if you stay the course long enough and you no longer need the condition of them doing it with you for you to love them, more often than not, you're going to be a mirror for them of what's possible. And they're going to want to go along the ride with their queen, right? They're going to desire that for themselves now. So I think that's really beautiful, to just allow that to unfold. And if it doesn't, then that's okay too. But more often than not, I find that to be the case. Family dynamic, it's been a very beautiful journey for me as I've gone within myself to realize, what have I been holding on to from my mom, and what has she been holding on to from her mom, and what has she been holding on to from her mom, and to really look at that from a place of compassion. It's really interesting when you start to see things in your parents, those individuals in your life where like they were always like, the one with the answers, for you to have
Yeah.
dynamics where you're like, whoa, oh my God, I healed that. Like, I'm no longer that. It's always fun. I'm probably visit back home every 6 months or so. So it's fun to see that unfold of things that used to just like wildly trigger me and give me massive anxiety, to just now observe from a place of love and observe from a place of compassion. So, this work, it's got a direct impact on literally every person in your life, because perception's projection, but your relationship with anything, right? Your relationship with stuff, your relationship with money, your relationship with the things that you buy and the choices that you make, because it's literally all a mirror for you, right? Why do we hold on to the physical things that we need, right? What meaning is it giving us? What symbolism does it hold? I spent a year over the last season of my life RVing full time. So being able to just like eliminate the stuff in my life and find an emotional home inside, no matter where I was, whether it's a beautiful space or whether it was a parking lot in Alabama, like to be able to find that unconditional peace within, it's quite liberating. Now, do I experience that every day? No. I'm
Yeah.
human, but I've got the tools, right? So I know when I kind of fall off of that, and when I lose my peace, and when I lose my groundedness, I know like when I need to be human and just cry it out or just feel it out. And then I know it's time to take my power back. It's time to come back. It's time to really center back in to my peace, right? And the tools that you and I both teach and live by really give you the ability to do that. And it's almost, I've found like a level of fun in recognizing like there's still something to heal here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Let's go for it. And now it's no longer like this big drama thing.
Yeah. Oh man, we're very much living simultaneously similar lives, because that was, 2020 hit, and me and my husband looked at each other and we're like, "Okay, I do what I do." So I could see this not being a 3 month or 2 week thing, as they said. I was like, no, this is like longer. This is decade long transformation kind of stuff that's happening. To what direction that goes, I'm unsure. Like everyone, human experience hit with, okay, the world is literally shifting overnight. What do we do? Right.
Yeah.
But we looked at each other and we were like, well, what kind of life do we want? Like just looking around at our stuff, looking around at our shelves, looking around at our closets, looking around at everything. We're like, what does this all mean to us? If something, great. If nothing, let's change it. Because right now we're being faced with this experience where we can either suffer because of what we can't control, or we can change and do something about what we can. And we decided we were going to move into our trailer. We were going to find a plot of land. We were going to get rid of literally everything we owned other than just the basic things that we needed. So we kept a little bit of furniture, some of our clothes, and the kids' toys pretty much. And we didn't know where we were going to go, but we were like, hey, we're moving out. We gave our landlord the notice. And he was like, well, if you're looking for like a plot of land, I happen to have one off of a field not too far by, and it has electricity and it has water, and there's a barn so you can store stuff in, and there's a root cellar, which I turned into my office. And,
Amazing.
it's yours. And, one of our big reasons for equally moving into the RV is like, we realized we don't know shit about money. I went to school for business and accounting for 2 years and walked away knowing how to run somebody else's business, but not actually knowing what I was doing. And I was like, and for the longest time, I was like, what a waste of money. Like that was $25,000 of education and I'm doing nothing with it. And then I started running my own business and I was like, oh, I can see how I learned some of these things. And this is now
seeds were
relevant.
planted.
Some of these lessons did not need to cost that much, but everything is an experience. So
Totally. Lessons learned.
yeah, exactly. But,
and then it came down to, okay, well, let's learn more about money. Let's become financially stable. Let's educate ourselves on this. Let's figure this out, right? I want to be in business long-term, which means that I need to and get to learn about the energy, the experience, the physical stuff, the tangible, logical things, structures of
Yes.
money. And so we moved into our trailer and we're like, oh, we're going to stay here for a year. We're going to pay off a shitload of debt. This is amazing. We're paying like a third of what we paid there. And this is perfect. This is going to work out great. We moved into the trailer. We spent the entire summer there. We wanted to be more connected to nature and the sun and have our kids outside. And it was one of the hottest, clearest, least rainiest summers we have probably ever had. We had almost 2.5 weeks of like almost 40-degree weather, which is not normal for Alberta. Which we can go into conspiracy lanes later if we want. Because I'm all about that stuff. So we had like the best summer, and we lived in this trailer, and I dove into programs like Fast Foundations and took single trainings on money and bought the books and listened to the podcasts and learned how to actually fucking balance spreadsheets and understand and budget and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't pay off the massive amount of debt that we wanted to, but we learned the foundational tools we needed to be able to shift into something different. And when Phil had his heart attacks, we realized, okay, well, we need a better living situation because our winters are going to be colder. And he's not in the space to be able to physically have the maintenance that we'll need to be able to live here. And so we let our landlord know there was absolutely no problem. We manifested the perfect home with the perfect amount of room at the perfect rate that is still very much in what we were comfortable with paying for and affording, moving out of paying next to nothing to now paying for an entire home experience again.
Totally.
And it very much like what you said, it started with me. Okay, I know I can manifest the coffees. I know I can manifest the discounts. I know I can manifest the clients. I know I can. So let's apply it to this. And having that summer to learn in the way that I did, that devotional energy, setting the time aside to actually do the trainings, actually do the courses, actually integrating, and now being able to apply it in a new sense, in a new place, in a new energy. So it's like,
so good.
I resonate with so much of what you shared because that's very much what it is. It's always about this reassessment, reevaluation, reflection, review. And Melanie Ann Lair, I didn't even know about her until probably 5 or 6 months ago.
Yeah, same.
Idea. Yeah, it's just, perfect people appear exactly when they need to. And I heard the exact same line from her from an podcast interview that she did with one of my clients, Carissa Johnson. And she had said the same thing. What changed my life was having one foot in desire and one foot in gratitude, not both in one or the other. And I was like, oh, and it was a game changer for me. I sat with that. I reflected on it. I meditated with it. I walked through my life thinking about it for a few weeks. And I realized where I had old mentalities and habits and beliefs that were rooted only in desire or feeling like I had to only be in gratitude. And I was like, well, what does that look like being in both? So very much like what you did in the kitchen with your sister, going into, okay, what do I make this mean about me? How do I apply this? Where do I take this sprinkle? Where do I take what I've heard? And what does that look like for me? And I think that that's such a valuable piece to just continuously cycle back through in this, which I feel like is becoming our theme of self-mastery, because that's exactly what it is. You're going to come across so many people, beautiful people, divine people, influential people, smart people, intelligent people, dumb people, but they're all going to be a mirror for something, right? It's that person's not just dumb. They're just having a moment. Maybe they're lost in something. Maybe they're confused, conflicted, not dealing with whatever's going on. Maybe the intelligent people are the ones who continuously strive no matter what. And so that's why they have the intelligence that they do. And that doesn't make it mean anything more or less about them or you. It's just, what do you do with that? What do you want to do with that? And how is that relevant to the direction that you're going? And so I'd love to hear from you in that. How has that allowed you to dream bigger? And how has that really contributed to changing courses in your life or having a bigger vision?
Yeah, such a beautiful question. I used to think when I was grateful that I was signaling to the universe that like I'm good here. I don't need anything else. Like I'll stay here forever.
Yeah.
And it was really this rewriting and really beginning to understand the quantum model of reality to realize, well, wait, no, not only when I'm grateful, am I beginning to love this moment? Because, spoiler, we forever live in the eternal moment of now. So,
Yeah.
like, if you keep saying later, 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 then you will forever live in later, I'll be happy, later, I'll be happy, later, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
So, not only do I get to invite in this level of peace and joy and comfort and happiness with what I have now, but I'm also beginning to tune back in to that source within, that alignment, that tuned in, tapped in, turned on. I know I've said that already, but that's when you now become an energetic match for the more money, the more, physical success, a bigger home or a smaller home on wheels or whatever it is, right? Whatever that new thing is that you desire. When you think of that vision of what it is that you desire, it's probably holding an essence of joy, of play, of expansiveness, of celebration. Well, if we want to be a match for that, then we got to feel that now. And we can feel that now by taking in a deep breath. Like when we take in a deep breath, we are fulfilling every human basic need, right? When we just can fulfill our body's need for oxygen, what pleasure can that bring us? What just deliciousness can that bring us when we really tune into it, right? Because I know sometimes we might hear this when we're in a situation that we don't freaking like. If the bills aren't met or the house situation's not good or the relationship or the abuse or whatever it is that we're going through that can feel really heavy. I know that it can feel so hard when you hear conversations like this. Like, how can I feel grateful for this? It sucks. And I see you in that. And I so feel you in that. And I would invite you in to play with how can you make that moment one of which that's rooted in the divine. And maybe it is eye gazing into the sun. Maybe it's taking a moment with the stars. Maybe it's just a hand on the heart, breathing into that. I'm here. We can find those little tiny pockets of peace and pleasure throughout our day. Even if it's a few fleeting moments, that's okay, but that's enough in the beginning. Abraham Hicks often talks about it. You take 16 seconds. Can you hold that for just 16 seconds? And there will be a ripple effect. And it's in that ripple effect that truly, before you know it, you look around and you realize something changed here. And that eternal moment of now looks different than maybe it did a few months back. So it's really given me peace in this moment, while also trust that anything I want, I can have. And that ebbs and flows, right? Some days I'm like, I got it. And other days I'm like, oh my God, it's taking so long. So it ebbs and flows, but more often than not, because of this work, I get to stay on the spectrum of, I can find joy now and peace now because I find it wherever I am. And also because I'm finding peace and joy now means I'm an energetic match for what that next thing is. So I can have full-time faith that that thing will eventually manifest to me because it is law.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because it is law. It's so true. Dr. Joe Dispenza, when I started finding his work and tapping into the quantum field of reality and all of that amazingness that he brings to this world, there's a image that he often uses, or a video he often uses in a lot of his stuff, where it's like the rock dropping in the water and then it's the ripple effect. And then he speaks to how at first, similar to your example with Abraham Hicks, it's very condensed, it's very small, it's 16 seconds. But if you watch, that ripple effect gets bigger. And so that ripple effect could be time, it can be action, it can be intention, it can be experience. But it really, truly does grow. And it doesn't just end. Eventually, it becomes smooth. And that smoothness is the integration. That ripple effect of change didn't stop. It just became it. You just become it. You just are
Yes.
it. You are the ripple effect of change. You are the self-mastery. You are the embodiment. You are the peace, the joy, the pleasure, all the things, even in the hardship of darkness, of emotional trauma experiences, drama, whatever it is that comes up. It's like, oh, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the tool. 16 seconds. Let's start there. Okay. The ripple effect of change. And it becomes easier and easier and easier. And I feel like for a lot of people, especially those who are really just stepping into the world of learning more about themselves and self-discovery, is that there's a lot of pain associated with doing the work, because healing, it's healing. So there must be wounds that's associated with therapy and psychology. And so it's like, okay, well, there's trauma, there's drama, there's problems, there's pain, there's suffering. And so they associate going through the process with that. It's hard, it's challenging, and it's harder to see the trust and have the trust and the breakthroughs, because it's very much rooted in the moment. And what I love so much about what you do, and equally, I feel like we're a lot of people who operate from integrity of helping people find them versus the dependency of the coach or teacher, is that it's very much about the moving forward. It's like, okay, this is where you are, but let's also look at how far you've come, where you're going, what you're learning, what you have, what you've integrated. It's very rooted in that self-reflection, and equally that foot in desire and foot in gratitude. Okay, I want to be out of the pain. I'm also grateful that I get to go through this now, right? And it stops being so dense, and you stop feeling so contracted, and you just get to start feeling more bliss, more ease, more smoothness, safety, and joy. And it's like, and that's what celebrity, athlete, high level performer, speakers, all of them, that's literally what they do. This is the work. This is the only linear thing that exists in time, though it is complex and interdimensional as it is, right? So it's like, whatever you're challenged by right now, this is exactly where you need to be. So if you didn't get your pen and paper out yet, I highly encourage you to come back and re-listen to this, because there's some really beautiful nuggets in here for you to be able to take away, and equally just stop and sit with, from breathing to reflection to integration even. So Mikaela, I really want to honor your time, but I'd love to know from you one last question before we go. And I'd love for you to share all the things you have going on right now that they can be a part of. How has intuition played a role in your life in terms of your healing and your expansion?
So good. For me, when I hear intuition, that goes through my filters, and I connect to what I call my emotional guidance system. And it's really as simple as, does this feel good or does this feel bad? So anytime a decision is coming my way, an action gets to be taken, a shift is coming, I will sit with, does this feel good or does this feel bad? Does this thought that I'm thinking feel good? Like the example I gave earlier, when I was in the kitchen with my sister, I was saying words that felt bad. So I said, okay, hold up, right? My emotional guidance system's kicking in. Something's off here. I'm speaking words that are not my truth. Let me change this into words that are. And words that are in my truth feel better. So it's really so simple. Does this feel good? Does this feel bad? And when I lead with that, man, it's just a continual journey of magic. And when it feels bad, I'll check in. Does it feel bad because it's not my truth? Or does it feel bad because I may be stretching into a new paradigm of me, a new essence of me? And maybe there's some stuff that I get to clear up because I'm afraid of what that looks like, right? But it gives me that next step, whether it is let's go all in, or it's let's heal this, or let's pause, let's wait, let's move a different way. Really being connected to my body, to that feeling of good, bad, has been absolutely everything for me. It's what led me into the work that I do today. It's what's led me into union with my partner. It's what's led me into different business decisions, moves across the country, all of which have had something really beautiful to teach me. And has it led me into hard things? Yeah. But it has always given me something to learn. And that's the whole point as we're talking about here.
Yeah. Wow. That's, thank you so much for sharing your story and your messages, because I feel like this is really going to hit home at the perfect time with so many people who come across this in a multitude of different ways. That is that ripple effect of change that leads to that embodiment. So I'd love for you to share with them all the things you have going on, where they can contact you. And of course, you guys, you can find all these details in the show notes to be able to access and go tap into Mikaela's world too.
Thank you again so much for having me. This was so nourishing on my end as well. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have a beautiful workshop to gift your amazing community. I'm hosting a masterclass completely free on how to become a transformational leader and guide. So this is for those of you who are looking to learn the tools, integrate the tools, embody the tools, and then go support people. So if that's your path, I would love to have you join us. I'll be sure that that link gets to you if it's not already to you, Riley. And then for those of you who are just simply looking to connect, to learn and integrate just for self, I've got stuff going on all the time, usually over on Instagram. So you can connect with me at Mikaela McNat there. My NLP certifications are a beautiful place to do some of that work, but just, my content is a great place to start as well. If you just want to tune into my energy, plug in, say hello. If one of my spaces aren't the right fit, I'll point you to whatever I think might be. So I would just be so honored to connect and do life with you in some way, even if it's just through Instagram. That is more than enough. That's where you can find me there.
Love it. Well, we will make sure to get all those details and plug them in for you guys. That is so amazing. Thank you for gifting them the workshop. I feel like that'll be just so powerful. We're really seeing a rise to leadership in this new year, whether it be for self or it be in the pursuance of helping others rise too. So there's a big theme in that coming out. So I love it so much. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so grateful for you and your time and your energy and your wisdom. And you guys go give her a follow. You are not going to be disappointed. And I cannot wait to see what transpires from all of you. Feel free to shout us out when you listen to this. Let us know your biggest takeaways, and we cannot wait to chat with you.
Hey, before you go, I wanted to take a moment to just thank you so much for tuning in with me each and every week. If you weren't already aware, new episodes drop on Mondays. If you could please be so kind as to screenshot this episode, just tag me on Instagram at Riley June with your biggest takeaway, or if you know someone who could really use the insight and guidance provided to you in this session today, I would love for you to go ahead and share this directly to them. I look forward to continuing to bring you insight, guidance, and self-mastery activation tools that you can implement into your life now to truly evolve and become the divine expander that you are. All right, I cannot wait to chat with you soon. And remember, don't forget to go and find the magic in today.